Hello, this is a production of Leo Independence. Leo being a certain reading of Lalo, which means independence, or which means independence, creativity, and originality. So I'm going to share my screen and start it up. As you can tell, I store a lot about myself, mostly to keep track of what I've done and what I'm likely to do again. Only in my sketches do I actually figure out how to stop doing things, and they're not usually settled on and actually accomplished very easily. Oh, wrong side. So I was supposed to say at least everyone's fine, but my leg ripped off in this play. It's just another example of one of my many meltdowns.
What happens? Hey, okay, what you going to do? Take a deep breath. Take a deep breath. They need a mayor. No.
These really accelerated after my grandma died. Should be in this video 433.
God, I wanna soar. I wanna fly. I wanna touch the sky. I wanna soar.
I wrote this song.
I wanna wait no more.
I
I went to the highway.
wrote this song about my grandparents. Some of my grandparents dying. We used to fly to their houses on airplanes. But then when we met my stepdad and we started flying to Memphis to see my dad's parents, and my mom's mom died, and we stopped flying to New York to see my grandpa.
I wanna soar, wanna wait no more.
I just kind of got sentimental about flying.
I wanna touch the sky. Mom, turn your head. Your head. Turn your head. Don't wanna wait no more. Don't wanna wait no more.
Someone laughs at you, just pretend they're laughing with you. I can convince myself of that.
So this is what I got up to. I got a new computer when I was 11 in 6th grade, and I started
I started making
great.
these videos.
Great, I'm so ugly.
These
I'm
videos are
looking
pretty
in
good.
the mirror right now, and all
I made whole
see
compilations
is the
of them.
picture of ugliness.
Let's just enjoy this.
Drat.
It's only a couple minutes.
Now hold on, Jacob Luck. I'll come up with a word, and it'll be the best word ever. Yes! Yes, I will. Somewhere over the bloody bird, way up high.
All right, now I'm gonna read my
So,
book, Mr. Stupid.
I wrote this in 7th
It's
grade,
about
I think,
little
when I was
background.
11,
Mr. Stupid is a
or actually when I was
cartoonist,
12.
and he's been using his cartoons to take away the actual knowledge of people on Earth. And I have been waiting my whole life to
He's
do
got
this
aliens,
experiment.
which is
No.
especially
Please,
interesting
I said no, Datan. You'll do it when you're
because
older.
it came up later.
When you're old. Now I'm going to get the experiment for your age. The atomic microscope. Okay, this new transportation for herself is actually, it's a transforming prosthesis of her legs, which is sort of an amorphous blob.
That's sort of the inspiration for all of my
Just to rip off.
new
with great
all of
power
my
comes great
mogrifiers and things that I created.
As our heroes soon will learn.
And then here's the opening credits. It's a mess, it's a mess, it's a mess, a mess, a mess. And he's been using his cartoons to take away.
So the interesting about these personalities is this is sort of earlier on in 5th grade, I referred to a studious adult self called genius and a silly child self called dip, and I embodied them as 2 separate characters here in a different way, with Datan, the intergalactic defender of intelligence, replacing genius, and Mr. Stupid, the evil intelligence sucking or the evil man, the evil cartoonist with the intelligence sucking machine for dip. And I wanted to make Datan seem like the good guy. She's one of her main features is that she's cocky, but that's sort of a racial thing. The Xanatarians are cocky. And they actually are the smartest beings in the universe. So
I boil over. We're back. It's typical Daniel Parks. He is in 7th grade, almost 13 years old, believe it or not. I got him up on time. I asked what he wanted for breakfast. I asked if he wanted French toast. He said yes. I made him like really delicious French toast. Then he wanted a second helping, so I made him 2 more pieces. So he had 5 pieces, 5 halves. And he was very happy. Everything's fine. And then I said, go brush your teeth. He said, no, and threw a fit. And roll them. Okay, this is Daniel at almost 13. Okay, beware of this, all you architectural schools and schools for famous inventors. Mark, you did
and
it.
of
You did
course
your reading well.
in a lot of my meltdowns, this would happen.
Daniel, no hitting.
I would hit my
Just get your
parents,
shoes on.
both
I
my
will-
mom and
I
my
will
dad
drive you.
indiscriminately.
I'm rolling this video camera, Daniel, for Dr. Levin. Go show him. Oh, God.
All right. And how will I segue into this? These meltdowns were in response to the bullying that I had at school. And one thing that I kept trying to do in response to the bullying was be silly and try to get them to laugh. And in one way, and the things that I did to make the bullies laugh ended up in massive comedy. Same thing with this thing. And massive comedy ended up showing the evolution of my face as I was maturing from a 12-year-old to a 14-year-old, and also the evolution of the playroom itself, which I called the mess. I should have said that while I was playing this.
You got computer mind, several programs inside. You got computer mind, you can run 4 or 5. And when you alternate, you can run 7 or 8. And what will lag behind is your emotional mind. Your heart will crash and burn when you see pictures of sun. Your heart will crash and burn, rather not be alive. Take what you can take, your heart will be.
And I cleaned the playroom
when
I was 16. And
Let's fall asleep.
my stories evolved into stories about Ainlia, my ideal society, where I would be free to do everything that I did naturally, the hitting, the melting down out of camps, because my parents were starting to react against that and putting me in camps that I couldn't get out of by melting down. And that hurt me because melting down was my selection process. And so I made this endless sea of camps that I could go to. And if you just leave one, you can go to an endless chain of others. No matter what you do, no matter what crime you commit, you are still, you still just go to the next camp. Now, this camp might be limited by what crimes you've committed, so you might not be able to go to a camp where that crime is illegal, as well as the camp that you were, just like it was in the camp where you left. But it wasn't until recently that I found out how limiting that was.
He grabbed the magnifier. Cole was thinking. As soon as his parents fell asleep, he grabbed the magnifier and snuck off. One day, Cole told Celine he was going to make a change. I'm going to tell the class about my designs for future society, my oral report, he exclaimed. Celine beamed with excitement. Finally, his uniquities would be expressed. She thought, if your notes will be viewed by other people, you should have this. Celine handed him a flat piece of metal molded into the shape of a radial air duct. This is the magnetic lens to my notebook design.
the one that allows your
Alright.
sketches to
So
transfer
that's
directly to your
Anlia being
iPod.
introduced.
Cole remembered the computer
605,
device
you
that
have the
his parents
KP.
bought him, which which couldn't be used in class. Except it couldn't be used in class. Cole was completely preoccupied with his latest sketch. He called it the Mogrifier.
Okay.
Like a
This is the
transmogrifier, except it created.
The version
Okay, I
of
definitely
KP.
stole that from Calvin and Hobbes. I thought it was a larger thing. Like a transmogrifier, except it created things from nothing. With it, it could create anything at any time. It had a vaporizer at one end and a wand that attracted specific patterns of atoms. The pixels of these patterns could each be a previous pattern. Therefore, he could build a cell out of identical blocks of atoms and muscle.
That's how the KP
identical
works.
blocks of cells. You would never have to worry about materials again. And there's a little drawing of the magnifier. And I ignore the math homework scribbled on the top row. She stepped closer and looked in. There was Cole, bent over. Cole Winters. Cole Winters, the teacher yelled. Cole, you're up, prompted Celine.
And then
Asia.
Cole goes and
Cole mused before falling from his chair and
presents
filling the
his
iPod from his
Anlia.
book. Something slapped into place from shock. He brushed off and delivered what he thought to be a well-planned speech. Fellow students, the apocalypse is coming. Floodwaters rise, overpopulation prevails. Ooh. Either way, there won't be much space on land. There will be many benefits to living in boats. For one, you can move much more easily without packing. Without packing. Which brings me to the law of the offshore. Laws cannot restrict man from what only affects himself. There must be an agreement before any interaction. Such law, which by nature of offshore law is local to cities. Oh yes, problems so that the boats do not rock, but remain above the land, above the tides. They will be anchored to, I know what this is, but I can't read it, so I'm going to say anchored to poles, sliding up and down. That's enough, Cole, sighed the teacher. There was a long pause. Celine opened her mouth.
And then in the
That was a
end,
communist monkey, a child laughed,
1724,
causing an uproar across the class. Celine, Cole whined. Celine took this as a challenge. He hiked to the shore and along the seaside of the mountain to a place outside the bounds of the site map and began to throw the volcanic iron into the magrifier. He stuck the replicating pad on a steel spoon. Sparks flew toward the pad, leaving a seamless trail of steel as it went. Soon he created a drill and a cap and drilled towards the magma of the mountain. He fit a vaporizer onto the cap, screwed it over the drill, and waited. The vaporizer started to emit a violent glow as it picked elements from the ore. He knew it was working. He can construct the docks. In the morning, he would return to the reserve. He led this double life. I don't think that's how you spell lead. L-E-D, L-E-A-D, probably. I don't know. I think that's right, actually. He led this double life for years and years. He built everything imaginable, from functioning plastic gill to programming. Okay, so actually, I invented that way back in the day in my sketchbooks. And now that's a thing, the plastic gill. To a programming language based on model property changing lenses.
okay.
That was lenses.
So when I turned 17,
He had all he ever asked for.
I had a meltdown at school in theater, and I got suspended from school for 2 weeks. And because I accidentally hit a student with a chair, and I was like swinging it over, and I had to clear the air because I was so stressed, and then I couldn't figure out how to put it down, so it came down. So when I tried to slow down, it ran out of centrifugal force and started tilting downward and hit somebody on the head. So I was suspended from school for 2 weeks. The actual cause of my initial stress was that I had sent these tapes off to be scanned at this place called Tape Scan, and it took 3 months instead of 3 weeks to do it. But while I was suspended, they came back, and I made this movie. So so I made this movie and also a book for my 18th birthday. My 18th birthday being a big thing because then I could finally make all of my inventions, and then I could finally prototype all my inventions and patent them, because my mom had been holding all of my money up until then, and she wasn't letting me have a credit card until I turned 18. I couldn't drive. I couldn't get to the store to buy things to make my inventions. And so I thought if I had a credit card, I could go online. And not only did I have, maybe I shouldn't do this by the.
Life, I think, is different from me.
Not only could I get a credit card and go online,
I've been waiting my whole life just for the moment I take a
that's actually highly inflated. I thought that I had run out of space in the amount of inventions I could remember, and that's why it was limited to 96. But it might have just been limited to 96. And I actually had a container full of money that I'd saved all throughout my childhood just so I could patent my inventions. And the song is terrible, you can skip it.
My money, my money, my money to the bank. So that's my life.
17-year-old me.
It's up to you to judge. Did I grow up? Or not? If you excuse me, I'll take my money. My money.
And there's the box. So you've got this.
It's Torn Wolf, president of Denny Riskin Corp.
City boat
So you
interesting.
think you're ready to create real cities at sea with your new city boat home? Let me run
So
you
this
through
is when I started branding Anlia as a consumer product.
The 3 main rooms: the bedroom,
That being the
included
consumer, this
kitchen,
being the
the
consumer
bathroom,
product.
and the hallway, which can connect to other city boats to form a square house using these two airlock doors.
So that could be
To start a
people
city and live
could move
independently, we'll
multiple
provide you
ones
with
of those
3
next to
main
each other, and they
things.
produce a city.
The Stardust
And
printer,
that's what Anlia is.
which is a food source, and the microwave, and the virtual reality system in the wall. That will make the house a home and allow you to have many different types of decor. And of course, the bathroom with sewage treatment included. Here's how it works. Solids
And
are
I had
filtered
a
out of the
good
seawater
idea
from
of how the
intake
printer
valve
would work,
and sent to a
too.
digester, breaks them up into atoms. The atoms are then ionized so that they can
See,
stick to and
impeller,
travel along the
digester,
carbon nanotubes of the
ionizer.
printer.
The
Which is
filtered
different
saline
than
goes
an
with the
ionizer
bath,
that-
toilet, and sink, as well as the city boat's 2
that
jet engines.
makes pieces into, or makes things into tiny pieces. This actually,
The printer then uses a layer
electric
map on
charges on
4
stuff.
different size levels to produce the requested substance into the requested shape.
and
Uses
there's
our
that.
patented image duplicity with electron beams, then reunites the atoms and flash freezes them on the top plate.
That's the other. That's the way the Stardust printer works
Leftover
again.
atoms from the printer go to the fuel cell, where recyclable carbon dioxide and water are produced to
And
generate
then
power.
we have
Leftovers from there
data, humans, and initiatives.
Now, this next topic has been the subject of many alarmist science fiction novels. And I call it Data Humans. The idea that precedes this is that everything in Anlia, be it laws or products,
So this is the democratic government of Anlia.
the Stardust Store, and then comes.
I'm staying up late. It's Yom Kippur. This is sort of like my sins.
And that would be great, except the problem is who manages the Stardust Store?
It is
So the Stardust
12:26
Store
a.m.
is made up of.
It's actually,
well, it was different, but it's made up of initiatives.
Talking over
There
it.
could be an initiative for food in the USA. There could be an initiative for because it serves not just itself but everywhere else. There could be an initiative for blank in blank, and then people can put these initiatives. Or actually, I went too early. Anything that's uploaded to these initiatives has to pass the tests that this initiative makes, or anyone can upload an initiative, but anything that's uploaded to this initiative has to pass the test that this initiative puts forward. So, for example, everything uploaded to food in the USA has to abide by FDA restrictions. And that means that if you're a state that, or SEC, that uses these initiatives,
I
something that
think I'll
doesn't
put in
follow
some
these
music.
initiatives can't be printed, can't be done in this state. Can't be done in this state. Something that does follow this initiative can be printed in this state. But the real question about data humans, or what data humans is really the answer to, is how do we make sure it follows these initiatives? And the answer is by hand. And this is the part where it has to be democratic. So I came up with this really interesting way to make things democratic. If you have a group, I learned in civics class that if you have a group of people, the average opinion is usually right. So what I decided to do was take scans of people's brains and then compile them into the data humans.
That's the Anlian anthem.
And this is the person that, it's all averaged together. And this is the person that runs the Stardust Store. This is the person who decides whatever goes into the Stardust.
With us create the future. Where different we will be. We're where the sun it rises over sun over sea. Stardust
right.
creates the future. Where networked we will be. We build all our solutions. And we
So
can
throughout the
share.
fall of 2015, it was my second year at community college, and I really wanted to produce the Stardust printer. See, here's the start. Here's a model I made of the Stardust printer.
Everything I
My
say
plan
means
was to
something
send it
else.
up
The world
to the
is dead
my
to
plan was to
me.
send it up to a university along with or send my design for it up to a university along with a mathematical prototype that was
I can't even-
vetted by a
I
friend
can't
of
even
mine
change my mood.
who had already
No
taken
matter how I
calculus.
try, I'll still be-
I
I can't even
I was gonna
say
I was
that
gonna
I
send the
miss you
mathematical
since
prototype.
you've gone away.
Actually, no. First, I was
I
gonna
can't
send the
even- I
mathematical
can't even
prototype and a
do
patent
any of
application
these things
to
you expect me to.
the
I can't
patent
even
office,
scream.
but I
throw as
wrote
much
up the
try, 'cause
patent
I'm still in
and
the
I
room.
wrote and
I can't even change
and the
my
mathematical
mood.
prototype
No
never
matter
got
how I
made.
try, I'll still
And then my
be
mom,
free. No matter how I try, how
and then I
try.
looked at the patent office and I went,
I still need you.
I need, and I went, this is a lot of money. I need
That's fun.
confer with my mom on whether I should spend it. My mom said no, but I was so invested in having to do this by
Brain full of
having to
visions.
do this by Halloween
So
of
shout,
2015
shout into the rain.
that by that time I
Make
was
one
out of
laugh
school
again, makes me
and
alright.
I
Shout, shout into the rain.
and
Let out
I
your pain and hope it rains all night.
and I got
Full of power, counting the hours.
and I was mad that I invested so much in it and only to have my mom turn it down. So I ended up getting really mad at my mom and
So
and
shout, shout
having
into the
several
rain.
meltdowns.
Make the
And
world
then at the
alive
end of the
again, makes me
meltdown,
feel right.
at the end of the meltdown,
Shout,
at the
shout
end of all the
into
meltdowns,
rain.
my mom
Let
said,
out
I'm
your
gonna call the
pain
police. And I
hope
said,
it
and I
rains
decided
all
I
night.
wanted to scare my mom out of her room because she was
Force of nature,
she
not
was
the
she was held up in the room and I had scared my parents out of the house before and then
full of
locked the door. So I
ages
thought I could
of
do that
things
if the
you
police
hope
came.
for.
And so mom was locked in her bedroom. I took my baseball bat and I started knocking on the door
Come back
really
to you at
loudly.
last. You're
And
back
then
at
she called
home.
the police and stayed in her
So
bedroom.
shout, shout into
And
the rain.
then
Let
I
out all
got
your pain as if you're all alone. Songs 3 and start to go up. Bad
tickled
sign.
by the police, which looked like this.
Oh no, I hate this song. I hate this song. I hate this song so much. Show them there's no mistaken. Okay, so show them what you do. Show
Oh,
them there's
this
no
one, I can't.
mistaken, just how you bring home the bacon. So no more belly aching. Show them what you do. Boom.
Daniel,
Yes.
you got buddy?
How do I describe that? Yeah.
Daniel,
Yeah.
please open the door for us. You have a bat with you?
Yeah, I can. I'll
Drop it?
I'm not holding it.
Okay.
All right, why don't you come out and talk to us, bud?
Come on now, bud. Daniel.
Because the girl inside her program.
Come on, buddy. John, you have a seat?
Of course, yeah.
Have a seat.
Today. Are you feeling okay?
I don't think
Not feeling yourself, maybe?
No, I'm feeling myself, but I don't feel like I'm compatible with this whole system that I'm supposed to be a part of.
Okay, what system is that?
The whole, the thing I'm not compatible with is really describing it.
Okay,
That's all.
I understand that. Something's going on and it's not.
I'm not a part of your system.
I'd like to help you out.
Is that
I've
that
had several,
system?
Hmm. Well, there are several main points that I've been making to my mom over the years, and I realize she's never gonna get them.
Okay,
I
So
kept
I'm just
trying
trying
after
to
that.
Separate here.
okay. So you guys
Somewhat
aren't really
making
getting along,
music.
you're a little frustrated?
Yeah.
Okay, how old are you, Daniel?
19.
19? Okay. You in school or you work or anything like that?
I got a withdrawal.
Okay. So what was up with being on the front porch with the baseball bat?
I just had to destroy something. I didn't know what.
Okay, where you feel like hurting yourself or
I
someone
remember
else?
that.
No,
Did you tell your mom you were gonna hurt her at all?
no, I was trying to break the door.
What are you gonna break the door for? The front door?
No, the door in the bedroom over there.
To get to her?
Yeah,
What was that for?
wanted to get her out of the house so I could lock the house from the inside.
Okay, so you're trying to separate yourself completely from your mom, huh?
Yeah,
Okay. Why don't you think about maybe going out and taking a walk instead?
I did.
Yeah, I'd done that once before. I had locked doors and
Well, it's
locked
usually what I do.
locked my parents out of the
Just a
house,
little bit
spent the house
different.
to myself.
Okay. Have you thought about hurting yourself at all?
Not seriously, no. I mean,
What do you mean by not seriously?
I mean, I could do I could do this.
Don't do
Doesn't
that
really
anymore.
hurt, you know.
Okay.
I'm
You do
glad.
that often or is that kind of what you do when you're mad?
Yeah, sometimes.
Okay. When you're mad in general, you like to destroy stuff?
No, not usually.
Okay.
Usually I just take a walk.
Okay.
But I feel like I have very large buildup over recent months, I guess.
So it's all piling up and you're just a little mad, huh?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we're here to help you out today because obviously, you're not feeling, say yourself, but you're angrier than you normally are. We don't want you to be angry and we don't want you to hurt your mom or the house or anything like that. Okay.
No, the interesting
can
thing
we do
is
to
at
help
the
you
time
through
that
here?
I had
Do you think maybe
at the
going and talking
time
to
that I
somebody else
had
will help?
No.
started this meltdown
You and
chain
your mom come to an
in,
agreement about what you're not liking that she's doing?
in the fall of 2015, so like maybe September,
Okay. There's always a
probably
place to start,
August.
you know what I mean?
I had a meltdown in May, but I didn't hit anybody.
Doesn't really work.
But by the time I had this
You
meltdown
ever been to UNC
chain,
to talk to anybody?
I had gone a year without having a meltdown.
Okay.
Entire
You've never
first
been there
year
before?
of community
Have you
college,
ever thought about it?
and all of 2014, including the half that was spent in 12th grade. That was all.
Oh, UNC Hospital?
Yes, sir.
That
We
was-
did go there,
Okay.
but we didn't get accepted there, I think. Something like that. That was
Got a
one
year without
time,
hitting my
several
mom.
years ago.
But it
Okay.
ended, and
Would you be willing to give it a shot today if maybe one of
I'm
us gave you a
squeamish
ride
to
up
say
there?
that it will ever,
Talk to someone, give you some time to cool off,
that'll
and get
ever
away from your
permanently
mom, and
end.
maybe they
But
can help you in some way.
that's all the expectations parable, like thinking if I expect the worst, then I won't have
What do you
meltdowns,
think about what's going on?
because meltdowns are a product of expectations.
Just stay in myself.
Being better than
I understand.
what's actually happening.
We're trying to here to try to make it easy for you, try to help you out. I know you're
Yeah.
frustrated,
Not going out.
If you,
huh?
Yeah, never mind.
right. I went to this residential treatment center for 3 months after that. So it was the whole, what I call in the alien calendar, Old-Yang 2. Old-Yang 2, so from Halloween to February 1st, or actually February 7th. And I decided to swear off of Anlia for a while and focus on psychological health. I was being exposed to a lot of psychological models while I was there through the groups. And I exposed the models. Then I developed my own psychological model. And this was it.
Welcome to the meeting on datan summaries. You have all reached a new age in your life. You just take things that happened in well, now's the part where you just take things that happened, example of a datan summary. So this is an example of a datan summary. You just take things that happened in these ages. Can you put one in each box?
Now, I'd been familiar with making autobiographies. And this is sort of sprung.
It's up to you to decide
from
which
that.
ones are more important. What is the most important thing that happened?
Okay.
There were 3, 4, 5, 6, 8,
I'm
10,
not sure.
12,
Still
16,
hear
20.
this. Yeah, I farted.
And you can write that down. You can write that down as your words, or you can draw it in pictures. I really like this picture representation of my datan summary. It's got the O for originality, that letter for when I invented the language of Belugada, the initial of N for NAD, datan, and also the last letter in datan. So that worked out pretty well. Got the subject. I wrote a story about Aqua Cat when I was 6, which fits into writing. I started making electronics. This was my logo. It was my logo for CreateCo. 10, I had running from camps. I ran away from so many summer camps. And I made this little thing for a little dot separating from a big dot. I wanted to be famous on YouTube when I was 12. That was my life plan. I worked for Mess Up Comedy. There's still remnants of that on my current YouTube channel. I wanted to build Anlia from a company. That's when I was 16. I sold a book of, or I wanted to sell my book of inventions and make a bunch of money to invest in building Anlia when I was 20 to 24. And that's really my life. Now you can take these, maybe I'll just, well, I plan to actually have people in this group. Which meant that I would be
and as you can see, there are these, this was something I planned to do to show a bunch of people how to make their own datans. And I found people who were on these age boundaries. This was, these age boundaries are basically 3, 4, or 5, 3, 4, or 5 times any whole number power of 2. So 3, 4, or 5 times 2 to the n. Or a matrix of 3, 4, and 5 times 2 to the n. So when I was in community college, it became evident that just knowing the patterns of my life wasn't keeping me out of trouble. So I started just knowing when I was going to come back to an idea didn't keep me out of trouble. So I had to come up with ways to bypass my emotions. The first way involved this emotion map with excitement, or with happiness on one dimension, or happiness on one dimension, and energy on the other. So you've got high happiness, high energy, excitement, high energy, low happiness, anger, low energy, low happiness, sadness, and low energy, high happiness, relaxation. Let's see. It's hard for me to even look a camera in the eyes. I didn't realize that. Is that an autism thing? So so this is my normal path. I can go on this introverted route that goes around focus, focus and dreaming. Or I can go on this extroverted route, which goes through the main extroverted emotions that I just said. I figured out that if I'm on excitement and I'm about to go to rage, I just need to go inside myself, because then I will channel that excitement into focus, into like just figuring things out rather than just going ape shit and hitting everybody in the room. It didn't really work because I came up with that in 2015, and I found out sometimes I need to be extroverted to get my things done. This is the expectations parable. It's pretty simple. I came up with this when I was 11, or probably when I was 11, maybe even when I was 9. But the idea is that if they're high, then I have a meltdown, because that is if expectations are high, then I have a meltdown and get kicked out of the camp because they're higher than the truth. If they're low, then well, if they're not low enough, they still won't be met and I'll go into a meltdown. But if they're low enough so that they are exceeded, The new expectation will be that this was good, this was better than expected. And then they will be high again. And then I will have a meltdown and get kicked out of the camp. So it's just delayed getting kicked out of the camp. That's what I always believe. That's why my rules early on that I tried to get my mom to follow when she put me into camps were consisted of she has to find everything for me and she can't put me in the same camp twice. And also not put me in any types of camp. Not put me in any types of camps I don't like, which I never really verbalized until long after that had happened. This is EPT expectation. Based on the past expectation is not met. If it's worse, is exceeded. If it's better. If not met, move to promise. Promise can be at least I'll have this, or if this happens, I'm gonna break. If it does not happen, if 1 does not happen, or 2 happens, move to trigger. Trigger requires both benchmarks passed to effectively lead to a meltdown. Old, being shushed, being called something I believe not to be true. Room too dark, having something assumed about me based on normally developing people, not finishing something. I'd have to add not being able to find something to that list. And the therapy for this is to figure out the specific situation and find out what the expectation is, what the promise is, and what the trigger is. Generalize it, but not generalize it this much. Generalize it a little bit less, and then between a few examples, and then be able to come up with a few ways to subvert the expectation by maybe making a counter expectation or a promise, by making a counter promise, and can't do anything about trigger. And then this is the series of events that happens in the case of a meltdown. Man, I'm just attacking my nose. You shouldn't have had those amphetamine salts. They were prescribed to me. They were prescribed to me to go to my driving class at noon, and I did it at noon. And I didn't have it at noon, but I took it anyway because I thought I would, or because I thought I might, and now I'm up all night. I also had cheerwine. Probabilities. Term, expected amount of time to be in one camp was paid for in one package. Camp, any social group that's outlived it, that is entered as a package. X's. Examples. Summer camp, school, family psychology, friend, invention, after school, alien sect. So camp, school, family, psychology, friend, invention, after school, alien sect. Probabilities of meltdown by term. Term 1, 13%. Term 2, 25%. Term 3, 40%. Term 4, 60%. Equation is approximately that per term. And then you've got And the thing is, that's not terribly therapeutic. So immediately after I found out that it might be even worse than I expected when I did the study. Metacamp parable, a parable of what happens with our group of camps, our category of camps. Uh, the breaking doors parable, the parable of having a meltdown at home. I thought coming up with that would help. I came up with several EPT parables for meltdowns at home, and I just could not capture them. I couldn't help but be vengeful against my parents in my descriptions. And I eventually went back to school, and I eventually graduated community college and went back to school for actually that was the same year I graduated from community college and went back to school for engineering in at NC State. I had a good first semester, but where I took a bunch of general education classes and one class in my major, failed the one class in my major, which was supposed to be a major to help with the start as printer. Then went into the second semester, or actually I got a C minus. I went into the second semester and started failing all of the other classes that used that as a prerequisite. And then I left, and then I managed to leave on my own legally with the tools that the school provided on its website. And my mom was mad at me because it took a while for anyone to really understand what deep problems I was in. I started doing these videos called walk and talks where I just talk about whatever happened in the day around spring of 2018. I in the last few walk and talks of the collection that I now call Walk and Talks 1, or actually I think I call them Walk and Talks. Everything beyond that is Walk and Talks 2. I was having 3 meltdowns in the summer of 2019 and totally and the first one I hit my mom, or the first one I hit my dad, the second one I beat up my mom, and the third one I punched my mom once, but it was the only time that I've ever caused a bruise punching someone in my entire history. So here's me confessing
Yeah,
to
my
it.
mom again. It's not really. It actually is pretty notable because I hit once, but I hit really hard, which is more than I was capable of doing before. And I think the reason for that is
Oh, and then I go into some spiritual thing. But as I went through the years after that, August 2019, I got my own apartment. I couldn't slow it down. Why does it have momentum now? And really, I'm sorry this is taking so long to get. Okay, so as you can see, I kept making. I had one last rain day where I pitch a tent out in the rain to. Why isn't it loading? And I went for I went for 2 years without any parent hitting meltdowns or anybody hitting meltdowns. I hadn't had a meltdown I hit somebody outside the family for since 2015. Anyway, you get the idea. You get the idea. Okay. And also, ever since I was 9, I wanted to live in an apartment just to mainly to get away from my parents and and keep myself from going from living with anyone else that I could hurt with my meltdowns. And it worked. I'm in an apartment. I haven't hurt anybody in 2 years, and I hope to go 4 years and even 8 years. See you in the future, Datan.